What's up, guys? I could do one more video before the game releases. We've gotten a bunch of new gameplay footage. There's actual gamers that have been playing the game early, so we are getting a good feel of what the game really is like, not just footage or trailers or information directly from 704. Now we got people actually playing the game. I've talked about Fabiano's video, and then since then there've been a couple more videos released by Joseph Lombard, and today Real Radman just released a Daytona video. So I figured I could just lump that all in together and tell you what I think about it and what to expect. I did do a prediction video already, and most of what I said, I stand behind it for the most part. But I also said that, um, and I've said it more than once, I don't expect everything to work perfectly out of the box. This game's going to have some issues, okay? And I think it's good if people understand that coming in. Uh, they've added a lot of stuff. When you take the things they've added to the game, not all of it's going to work as intended. There's a lot of things that are probably going to need tweaking, maybe a patch or two. I don't know. And I've seen things recently with the gameplay videos that that look like things that they might want to tweak here and there. Um, there's a lot of I don't know, like ups and downs. Like when it comes to the difficulty, there have been a couple of moments, or at least some of the footage looks like uh, there's gonna be some hit and miss, even in the difficulty area. When you have a top level car, right? That's when you have like a 3 star or even a maybe a 4 star, which we really haven't seen. You're gonna struggle. It's almost uh, might even be too much of a struggle for some people. Not for me. I love that. That's great. I'm more concerned with the 5 star. Once you got top level equipment, there are moments where it does look like it does look more challenging, but maybe not enough. And I don't know, because when I saw Fabiano's video at Darlington, that looked really challenging. Um, I loved everything I saw in that video because that is one of the most difficult tracks for me. I would say Darlington and Dover when it comes to the AI, the fact that they race in packs, and I really really hated that last year, and not just last year. It just This has been an ongoing issue, but uh, just directly speaking about last year's game, and the fact that the contact physics were a huge problem. It didn't take a lot to just you know completely just blow you out of the groove, and just cause a big wreck or whatever, what they call a ping pong effect. It really does look improved. Uh, it does seem like you can beat and bang a little bit within reason, and there is a line that, yeah, if you make hard enough contact with somebody, they will spin out, and there will be a wreck. So it's not like they overdid it, but they seem to have tweaked it just right, because in Fabiano's video, I saw some of that, and in the Daytona video today with Real Radman, I saw that as well. Um, he made some good moves, like outside, inside, down the middle, making a little contact along the way, but the car never started going. That ping pong effect where you just start getting smacked between two cars or the car and the wall. And I'm really happy to see that they've done something about that. So that is improved. Another thing that's really really looks light years better is the crash physics and the damage model. The damage model, I don't remember a NASCAR game that looked better when it comes to a damage model. Uh, Maybe somebody can correct me on that. I'm talking from every NASCAR console game. This clearly looks the best. The damage looks really good. In the Daytona video, Radman at one point there was a huge wreck, and there were a couple cars there that were really bashed up, and it looked good. The smoke effects, I'm really impressed with. It looks realistic. The way the cars, like I said, the contact physics, I think look really good. Now, what doesn't look good, okay, is during the wrecks. Sometimes you get some crazy crash physics thing going. I saw a car go up in the air like 50 feet and just spinning. Radman himself got into the infield. He I guess the nose uh, just dug into the dirt and the car started flipping. It was like really overdone. It was kind of crazy and wacky. So that stuff still needs a little work. But I'm gonna be honest with you guys. That stuff never really bothered me. Um, you know, wrecks are wrecks, and to me, those moments are so rare in a game. Like most of the game you spend actually just racing, so the other aspects of the racing are more important in my opinion. If you see some wacky stuff, in some huge wreck, and you see some car fly 50 feet in the air, okay, you know what, I just honestly don't think that big of a deal. Should they work on that? Absolutely, but that's just not a huge concern. So for the most part, I'm really pleased with the restrictor plate racing, especially since the other day, I don't know if it was Fabiano or somebody, or it might have been Joseph Lombard, uh, I think it was an Xfinity race at Talladega, and it just didn't look right. The field was spreading out too far. I mean, it's a restrictor plate. That's the place the cars are supposed to kind of stay in a pack. So a couple of things there just didn't look right, but today it looked great. So I don't I don't know, and it's one of those things I think that is going to be a little hit and miss, just like with last year's game and every game we've seen. There are tracks that are really easy, and then there are tracks that are a lot more challenging. Like I said before, Chicago for me is the easiest track from last year. I could win that with my eyes closed. And I think that there's probably going to be certain races, certain tracks that are easier than others. May not be that much of a challenge. So they have to stay on top of that, and hopefully they're paying attention to the community, and they can like possibly patch certain aspects of the game that need it. Um, that's what I'm trying to tell you guys. Everything is it's not just going to work perfect out the box, especially since they added a lot of new stuff to the game. And in all honesty, I don't know if they spend a lot of time in testing, you know, testing the game. Being that they're a small company, how much time did they spend testing, and who's doing the testing? How many people? Um, so these are questions nobody really knows the answer to except 704. So we may be finding things that they didn't have an opportunity to find. Uh, but I do really like what I see. Um, and it looked like a ton of fun. I'm not a big fan of restrictor plate racing. You guys know this, but this actually looked fun. It did look pretty challenging. He did get to the front, but what I did like is that the AI was racing a lot of times three wide. So last year, I just felt that the majority of the race, there's just two lanes, and there's like two freight trains next to each other, and the only way you can really get to the front is just digging around the bottom and kind of putting your nose just underneath somebody, and then they'll kind of shift up, and then little by little you can make your way to the front. And in this race, at least, it just felt like he can kind of also make progress down the middle and on the outside as well. And last year's game, you just felt like you just got to hug the bottom, and you'll eventually end up front. And this game looks like you have more options. There was a point where he got underneath and he got a little squirrely because he got kind of on the apron, and the car that was in the middle, he kind of moved up to avoid him. Like, so the sense of awareness is there, and the AI actually avoided him. They didn't just stay there. Like, so I really like that stuff. And just watching the race unfold, it looked like fun. I sat there and I actually could feel the fun through the screen. So I like what I see for the most part, but I also do see, some things that may be not as run as well as it should. And also, like Lombard did a race, I believe yesterday, and he did it at 105 difficulty. I think he's doing a career, and he's also doing a championship mode. So you can kind of see the two things. Now, obviously, in the career mode, he's really struggling, and that's the way it should be. But I'm more concerned with the when he's racing in championship mode, because he's racing with a top uh, 5-star car. So you get a better sense of how challenging is this game when you're at that level. And one of the races he won, and it was pretty easy, and that did concern me. So that's where I really started realizing, you know what? Just the same way has been every year, there are certain tracks that are just harder than others, or the AI is just they just run better at certain tracks, and then other tracks you're kind of like it's just no challenge. I do think that you're gonna get across the board more challenge, but I do think that some of these races you probably find they might still be too easy. I just got that feeling. Now it's hard to get that without playing the game, but just watching all this gameplay, and these are real gamers now playing the game, and they're really now spending more time with it. Uh, so the game does look like it's going to be a lot of fun, but like I said, there are some issues there still. Um, the damage model, like I said, it looks really good. But here's the other thing. Um, After the last restart, or the near next to the last restart, you could see a couple of really damaged cars next to Radman, and they stayed with the pack. They shouldn't stay with the pack. They should just fall out of the pack and not be able to keep up at all. That's just way too much damage. Also, I noticed Radman's car didn't have damage. Even after that last wreck, the car looked like clean. So there are some hiccups in the game. And like I said, some things are more important than others. One other thing I saw that I really liked is I think Paul Menard. I don't know if he lost a tire. Nope, it didn't seem like he hit anybody or anyone hit him. He was on the outside, and you could hear the tire screeching, and the car went up against the wall, and you saw smoke. And Radman was still racing, but he kept switching the camera, looking behind him, and you could see his car up against the wall and tire smoke. I love that stuff. We need more of these dynamic moments where it's just unpredictable things happen that don't even have anything to do with you. Other cars, wrecking or maybe losing a tire and stuff like that. I do wish the sound wasn't all there. I didn't hear the spotter talking enough. The spotter does just, I don't know, man. It just doesn't seem like he's involved enough. And if you don't know what's going on, at least let the spotter tell you. The 12 car or the 21 car up against the wall. I think he lost a tire. uh, something. The spotter's supposed to let you know what's going on. Now maybe he was, and because the way the sound of the game was, it was kind of low, and Radman was talking over all this stuff, so I couldn't really pick it up. But it's a cool dynamic event, and a caution did not come out for that, but so I like that. I want to see stuff like that. One last thing I do want to talk about is the driving physics. Several of you guys have brought that up, and it's a legitimate concern. Now, here's the thing. Everybody that plays the game is going to feel a specific way about the physics. Some people hate it, some people think it's horrible, other people are okay with it. Me personally, I haven't felt anything that really bothers me about it. The one thing that stood out to me last year is that ping pong effect, that collision physics. Whenever somebody gets into you and you just go flying off the track, or just down the apron or into the wall, or you're just getting smacked around, you can't control the car. Once somebody taps you, that ping pong effect seems to have been vastly improved. And from the footage I've seen and from what these guys are saying, it does look like it's improved. But the actual driving physics of just driving the car and how it feels, for me, I I haven't had that big of a problem with it. I'm not telling you that there's not an issue. So I don't want anybody to say, "Oh, you're crazy. This thing is fucked up." I don't know. For me, it's okay. It hasn't been on the forefront for me. I do play with a wheel and pedal set, and I do play in cockpit mode. And I think there's a night and day difference between people that play on a hand controller and a wheel. Also, what mode you're in, right? And a lot of people play, I think most people play in third person, where the camera's behind the car. In the car, you do kind of see the tail of the car, like kind of snappy a little bit, and it doesn't look right. And I think that is partly something that just doesn't feel right. And the last time I played on a hand controller that I even tried it was with NASCAR 15. I tried it with a hand controller, and I haven't been able to race on a NASCAR game with a hand controller comfortably in many, many, many years. Uh, Once I started using a wheel, I just couldn't go back. And it's harder, much harder to race to me with a hand controller. And it does feel twitchy, the controls, and I could understand why people may feel like that's something that they're not happy with the physics. Also, even people with a wheel, uh, somebody did mention that I do use a wheel and I'm not happy with the driving physics. So I can't argue with that. If you feel that the physics are terrible, I don't, if I feel really strongly about something, I'll tell you my opinion and I'll tell you, well, for me, this is not an issue. But I don't feel that strongly about the physics. Like for me, it's like I'm comfortable with it. Somebody else might not like it. Now, I do expect them to keep working on it every year. That's one of those things that is always a work in progress. I will tell you this, there was a huge improvement in terms of just the driving physics, right? I'm not talking about collision physics, but driving physics between Heat Evolution and NASCAR Heat 2. Heat 2 was just a lot better for me in terms of the actual driving physics and the handling. Now, how this game's going to feel, I don't know till I play it. I haven't really heard these guys talk a lot about it. I would think if it was a big issue, they would have mentioned it. I don't know. I know Real Radman has always uh, talked a lot about the driving physics in these games and how he thinks it should be. So maybe when he spends a little more time on the game, he'll give you his take on it. I would trust him a little more because he also plays on iRacing. So does Fabiano. That's a simulator, right? That's unforgiving and it's realistic, and stuff like that. This is not a simulator. It's never going to be a simulator. And in all honesty, uh, I honestly believe it's the right move. You don't want to turn this into a full simulator or try to do it. I think that would turn off a lot of people. You got to remember that these games have to be accessible for average people, anybody. They want to appeal to a wider audience. So you may be someone who wants that full blown simulator experience, but that's a small market, and most of those guys are already looking for stuff like that somewhere else, like iRacing or these other stuff. I don't compare iRacing to console games. There's just apples and oranges. It's two different things. So a console NASCAR game should be a sort of a blend between arcade and sim, what they call a simcade. So I'm not saying anybody's asking for a full-blown simulator. I'm just trying to talk about the differences and um, you know, when it comes to the driving physics, I'll do the best I can to tell you what I think about it when I play it. But I do want to leave that a door open to say, well, you know, this is how I think of it, but your experience is going to be different. That the driving physics, I think, is one of those things that you're going to hear a different opinion depending who you speak to. It's not like graphics where most people will agree or disagree that, hey, this is either it is improved or it's not, or the sound and stuff like that, or but like the driving physics, now we're talking about a personal feel to you. What, most of us do want that weighty feel, like a heavy car that you can kind of feel what it's doing, and I want that too. But nothing really stuck out to me in terms of the actual driving, the physics of it, the feel of it, that was terrible. It was okay to me. Uh, and once I'm in the game and I'm focused and I'm racing the AI, like my mind is not distracted by the physics. So I think I could say it's not great, but it's adequate, and they'll keep working on it. So that's the best I could do right now in talking about the driving physics. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna tell you it's perfect, it's great, or it's not. If you didn't buy last year's game, I can honestly tell you that it does feel way different than Evolution. So if your last memory was Heat Evolution, then rest assured that Heat 2, uh, for me, was an improvement, and it definitely feels way different than the first game. Now, driving physics, like I said, and contact physics are two different things. So it's not the same thing that I'm talking about. The contact physics last year with Heat 2, terrible. So it looks like that's been improved, but we'll have to wait and see if the actual driving of the game, does it feel different. So that's pretty much it. Um, I guess the next time you guys will see a video, it'll be after the release of the game. Maybe I'll do some gameplay. But if I do the gameplay, this is my plan. I'm gonna do a lot of single player, just single races, 105, fully maxed out, and I want to use a 5-star car, right? No disadvantage. Just I really want to feel what this game is like at at the top level, and really put the game through its paces. I'm gonna race tracks that I felt were too easy last year just to see the difference. And I'm also going to race tracks that I had trouble at, like Dover, like Darlington. Um, and what I see with my own eyes so far, like with the Darlington footage, I love. It does look, and the cars spread out. That ping pong effect's not there, and that's really important at tracks like Dover and Darlington, where there's no there's not a lot of room to race. And if you make a mistake, you're going to get in either into the wall or into another car. So it's really important that the contact physics from last year have been improved. And that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing, as well as, of course, the AI. How challenging is it, and the pit strategy. That's one last thing, by the way, before I forget. I like what I saw with the Daytona video today with Radman. The AI pitted almost every time they had a chance. And I do not expect the pit strategy to be perfect. Like I said, there's going to be some hit and miss along the way, but it does look vastly improved. There were a lot of times last year these cars just would not have pitted. They would have just stayed out and then pitted under green. So I like that. And if you know, when you're not sure, pit. And that's what I want the AI to do, because most of the time when there's a caution in NASCAR, regardless of where they are, most of the time, if you can come get four tires, you do it. It's very rare that cars stay out. So I really like what I'm seeing. When you add up all the improvements, there's no way this game is just not gonna be at least a really good experience. But like I said, there are gonna be issues. So do expect that. And our job is to make sure that we communicate with 704 what they need to fix and improve or work on and stuff like that. Because the reason we're getting these improvements and the games are getting better is because of the community. So let's keep that going. That's pretty much all I got to say. I'll see you guys maybe Friday night, maybe Saturday night. Unfortunately, the next couple of weeks, there's two people out on vacation on the job. I actually have to work a lot of overtime at least till the end of September. So I will have time to play the game, just not as much as I wanted to. So it sucks, but that's life. So I'll do the best I can. I think I still can get a review in maybe after 2 weeks. So I hopefully you guys bear with me. In either case, you're gonna get some good reviews from guys like Radman, What If Racing. I'm sure he's gonna do his thing. So by all means, you don't have to wait for me to tell you what I think of the game. I don't think you're gonna do that, but uh, you'll get my take on it, and it'll be last, like usual. So I'll see you guys around. What did you guys think of the footage that we've seen in the past couple days? What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? And how do you feel about the physics? And I look forward to your comments.